Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
I didn't show you that to trigger you. I showed it to you because it really happened. And it's I can't describe it. You have to see it because it would be difficult to capture in any different way the disgraced ex-president's appalling and mounting attachment and embrace to the ultimate betrayers of democracy who heeded his call than by showing you him saluting them during the national anthem. And the anthem is one that he recorded with convicted January 6th insurrectionists introduced there as, quote, hostages. To him, the January 6th insurrectionists are heroes, hundreds of, quote, unbelievable patriots, political prisoners for whom he's helped fundraise and is now promising to free and pardon. Today, the Bulwark reminds us who they actually are and what they actually did, from using a flagpole to push down a police sergeant, causing him to strike the back of his head on the base of a marble statue, to using an electroshock weapon to deliver jolts to the neck of an officer who had been dragged, to thrusting a flagpole into the chest of an approaching officer, then swinging the flagpole and striking two officers in the back of their heads. There's a rioter who sprayed 3 officers in the face with pepper spray, incapacitating them. One of those officers was named Brian Sicknick. He died the next day. Another rioter who wrapped his arm around the neck of an officer, threw him to the ground, and then pushed or tackled 4 other officers while his son grabbed at another's face and eyes, causing them to scream in agony. We're back with Tim, Molly, and David. And Tim, we could have gone on for the entire rest of our program, and time would have run out before we accurately describe the acts of violence Trump supporters carried out against law enforcement officials.
Yeah, Nicole, keep in mind that the people that are in that choir, the recording of which you just played, are held in prison in the D.C. jail. So a judge, almost often in the District of Columbia, a judge appointed by President Trump has made a determination that that person is either a risk of flight or a danger to the community. The vast majority who are charged with January 6th offenses were not held in prison pending resolution of their case. They got a bond and they were home. But these are the worst of the worst. The judges, again, many of whom are appointed by the former president, have determined are so dangerous or they're so unreliable that they need to be held in prison. So these are the people that he is calling patriots or who he is trumpeting as somehow mistreated. That's shocking, right? There's a lot of degrees of culpability in the crowd in January 6th. There are some people that were convicted of seditious conspiracy, the intent to use violence to overthrow the United States government. That's the most serious. And then there are people that are trespassers, right? That kind of are opportunistically violated the law by going inside the Capitol. And there's a lot of gray in between. The people that are singing in that recording are much closer to the seditious conspiracists than they are to the trespassers. That's why they're in prison. So there's a lot of awful, heinous, violent conduct that he is enabling and defending by calling those people patriots.
January 6th happened, David Jolly, with plenty of time for Trump to pardon them if he'd wanted to. He didn't want to.
Sure.
I mean, he handed out pardons the way most people hand out decks of cards with the Air Force One insignia on them. He could have pardoned them. And so, you know, maybe he'll pardon them should he be reelected, but maybe he's lying to them again.
Well, I think he actually might. I think what we've seen from Donald Trump is he wasn't quite sure how it would play out, and he would be happy to condemn them if he thought that helped him. But they have created this cause célèbre within the Republican Party, and we have to recognize that for Donald Trump and for millions of people who follow him, January 6th was a day of patriotism, and that is going to be baked into the November election. And, you know, if you look at there, I believe coming out of Ohio, about 2/3 of Republicans believe that the 2020 election was unfairly decided. This is now part of Republican doctrine. And then the notion, taking it to the step that January 6th was an act of patriotism, is real now. And I think this provides the ongoing complexity and challenge for how to cover this race, but also for how every American to think about this race. Because in some ways, the stature of the two major parties throughout history is working against us because we reflexively want to give parity and equity to the positions of the two camps. But when one of the camps today is running on a lie, and in fact, if they are successful, it would be an autocratic lie that they ultimately accomplish, we can't grow numb to that, right? I mean, the old adage, the sky's blue. If somebody tells you it's red, we don't give parity and equity to that statement. Maybe we report that they said it's red, and then we tell the American people why it's wrong. That's this race. This race cannot be about.
But if it's someone you love, you know, you get them help. I mean, the thing is, we don't have the lexicon or the expertise, and it's why I'm going to cover the golf story in a minute, because we don't have. You know, I'm a cable news host. You know, I probably needed a law degree. I probably need a degree in psychology or psychiatry. I mean, we don't, because I agree with you. It is about how we cover it. How, you know, I want to show you what Mike Pence said. I mean, I think what we try to do is say, don't believe me, believe his former vice president. Here's what he said about calling them hostages.
Well, I think it's very unfortunate at a time that there are American hostages being held in Gaza. That the president or any other leaders would refer to people that are moving through our justice system as hostages, and it's just unacceptable.
Now, it should have been a political earthquake, right, when he came out. And I mean, never before in our country's history. And maybe that's losing some resonance, right? Because none of this has ever happened before. But never before in our country's history has a candidate's own vice president not endorsed him. Yeah. But Mike Pence didn't endorse his former boss, Donald Trump, called him the P word and all sorts of other heinous things. But on this issue of not only are they not hostages, they made that guy run for his life.
Yeah, and they were chanting, remember, they
Hang Mike Pence.
Yeah, and they built a gallows, though it wasn't usable, which was somehow a defense. Look, Trump has used the threat.
The incompetence.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Trump has used the threat of political violence very successfully. Right? He has used, his supporters have bullied and, you know, and terrorized a lot of members of the Republican Party. So much so that Mitch McConnell was very happy to endorse him. Right? We know Mitch McConnell does not want to endorse Donald Trump. I mean, this is a Republican Party that's quite scared of him. So you do see that this. Because they don't want security, because they're cowards, because they don't believe in democracy. There are so many different reasons probably why, but it's worked really well for Trump. So I think Trump will keep doing this. And I think he's not incentivized to not. And, you know, he just had a gag order placed on him for this criminal trial because he is going after the judges. I mean, this is a person who has had a lot of success with this kind of online bullying leading to, you know, terrifying results.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.